The woman who touched the sky. In the early 20th century, the sky was still a mystery. The idea of flying across oceans was not just daring, it was nearly unthinkable. And yet, one woman defied those limits. Her name was Amelia Earhart, the aviator who captured the imagination of the world, a symbol of courage, independence, and adventure. But on July 2, 1937, that symbol vanished. Her plane disappeared somewhere over the vast Pacific Ocean, and with it, one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the 20th century was born. Today, nearly a century later, we still ask, what happened to Amelia Earhart? Was it a tragic accident, a navigational error, or something far more mysterious? To understand her disappearance, we must first understand who Amelia Earhart truly was, not just the icon, but the human being behind the legend. The rise of a legend. Amelia Earhart was born in 1897 in Atchison, Kansas, a time when most women were expected to stay grounded, not soar among the clouds. From a young age, Amelia was curious, fearless, and rebellious. She climbed trees, shot rats with a rifle, and collected newspaper clippings of successful women in male-dominated fields. When she saw her first airplane at a county fair, she wasn't impressed. It was a rickety thing of wires and wood, and it didn't stir her imagination. Yet. But that would change in 1920, when she took her first flight with pilot Frank Hawks in California. As the plane lifted off, she later said, "As soon as we left the ground, I knew I myself had to fly." From that moment on, the sky became her destiny. Within 2 years, she had earned her pilot's license, only the 16th woman in the world to do so. She bought her first plane, a bright yellow Kinner Airster she called the Canary, and soon began setting records. In 1928, she became the first woman to fly across the Atlantic, as a passenger. The flight made her world famous overnight, though she later admitted, "I was just baggage, like a sack of potatoes." It wasn't enough. She wanted to do it alone. In 1932, Amelia Earhart became the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean, from Newfoundland to Ireland, battling ice, storms, and exhaustion. When she landed in a rough field in Northern Ireland, a farmer asked, "Have you flown far?" Her reply was simple, "From America." The world never forgot that line. She wasn't just a pilot. She was a pioneer for women everywhere. Her courage became a statement, a living symbol that no dream was too high to reach. The final flight. By 1937, Amelia was already a legend. She had crossed oceans, set speed and altitude records, and inspired a generation. But she wanted one last great adventure, one that would make her immortal. She planned to fly around the world following the equator, the longest possible route, over 29,000 miles. Her plane was a sleek Lockheed Electra 10E, equipped with the best technology of the time. Her navigator was Fred Noonan, a skilled pilot and expert in celestial navigation. The flight was ambitious and risky. They would cross treacherous oceans, unpredictable weather, and vast stretches of nothing but sky and water. They departed from Oakland, California, in March 1937, but the journey quickly faced setbacks. On an early attempt, the plane was damaged during takeoff in Hawaii. The Electra had to be rebuilt. Undeterred, Amelia tried again, starting in Miami in June 1937, heading east this time. Over the next month, she and Noonan crossed Africa, India, Southeast Asia, and Australia, a triumph of precision and endurance. By July 1st, they reached Lae, New Guinea, nearly 22,000 miles completed, with just 7,000 left to go. The next leg was the hardest, crossing the Pacific to a tiny island called Howland Island, a speck barely 2 miles long. It would be like finding a needle in an ocean-sized haystack. The Disappearance. On July 2, 1937, at 10 a.m., Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan took off from Lae. Their destination, Howland Island, about 2,500 miles away. They carried enough fuel for 20 hours of flight. The U.S. Coast Guard ship Itasca waited near Howland to guide them with radio signals. But something went wrong. As the hours passed, communication grew faint. Amelia reported cloudy weather, headwinds, and difficulty using her radio direction finder. She tried to reach the Itasca, but the frequencies didn't align properly. The ship heard her voice, but she couldn't hear them. At 7:42 a.m., the Itasca recorded her final message. "We are on the line, 157-337. We will repeat this message. We are running north and south." And then, silence. No further transmissions, no wreckage, no survivors. Amelia Earhart had vanished. The U.S. government launched the largest air and sea search in history up to that time. For 2 weeks, ships and planes scoured thousands of square miles of ocean, but they found nothing. It was as if the ocean had swallowed her whole. The theories. The disappearance of Amelia Earhart became one of history's most enduring mysteries. Over the decades, countless theories have emerged, some plausible, others wild. The official explanation is simple. She ran out of fuel and crashed into the Pacific Ocean near Howland Island. The plane sank to the sea floor, leaving no trace, but others aren't so sure. One of the most popular alternative theories is the Gardner Island hypothesis. It suggests that Earhart and Noonan, unable to find Howland, turned south and landed on a nearby island, now called Nikumaroro. Decades later, artifacts were found there: a piece of aircraft aluminum, a woman's shoe, and even bones. Could they have survived as castaways, waiting for rescue that never came? Then there's the Japanese capture theory, a darker idea. According to some reports, Earhart's plane may have crash-landed in the Marshall Islands, then under Japanese control. She and Noonan, the story goes, were taken prisoner, suspected of being spies. Some even claimed she died in captivity. After the war, a few locals told stories of a tall white woman held by the Japanese, and photographs surfaced that some believed showed Amelia alive after her disappearance. Most historians remain skeptical, but the theory refuses to die. And then, of course, there are the more fantastic explanations: that she was secretly working for U.S. intelligence, that her disappearance was staged, or that she assumed a new identity after the war. Each theory reflects not just curiosity, but the human refusal to accept that such a bright flame could simply be extinguished. The woman beyond the myth. Behind all the speculation, it's easy to forget the woman herself, Amelia Earhart, the dreamer who refused to be limited by gravity or convention. She lived in an era when women were told what they couldn't do. She responded by doing it anyway. Her courage wasn't about seeking fame. It was about proving possibility. She once said, "The most difficult thing is the decision to act. The rest is merely tenacity." To her, flying wasn't just a skill, it was freedom. The freedom to define herself, to escape the expectations of a world still learning to accept women's ambition. Her disappearance turned her into a legend, but her life made her a symbol. Even now, her story is told not as a tragedy, but as an inspiration. A reminder that progress often comes from those who dare to vanish into the unknown. New discoveries. Old questions. In recent decades, new evidence has reignited interest in Amelia's fate. In 2018, forensic scientists analyzed skeletal remains found on Nikumaroro decades earlier. Originally thought to belong to a man, new analysis suggested they were consistent with a woman of Earhart's height and build. Meanwhile, deep-sea explorers have scanned areas near Howland Island, hoping to locate her plane. Some claim to have sonar images of debris resembling the Electra's wings. None of the findings have been conclusive, but each brings us closer to the truth. Yet perhaps the mystery endures for a reason. As long as her fate remains unknown, Amelia Earhart remains suspended between the earth she left behind and the sky she loved. She embodies a question as old as humanity itself. Why do we chase the unknown, even when it may destroy us? The legacy of the lost sky. Amelia Earhart's legacy is not in how she died, but in how she lived. Her courage redefined what women and humans were capable of. In her time, airplanes were still fragile machines, and crossing oceans was a gamble with death. Yet she did it anyway, for no reason other than to see what lay beyond the horizon. Her story inspired generations of aviators, explorers, and dreamers, from astronauts to activists. She helped lay the foundation for women in aviation, from the women Air Force service pilots in W-2 to modern astronauts like Sally Ride and Eileen Collins. Amelia wasn't just chasing records, she was chasing freedom. Freedom from expectation, freedom from fear, and maybe in that sense she never truly disappeared. The sky that never ends. Amelia Earhart's final flight is more than a mystery. It's a mirror. It reflects our fascination with the unknown, our need to explore, and our unwillingness to accept easy answers. Whether she crashed into the sea or survived on a lonely island, her story endures because it asks us to look inward. What risks are we willing to take for our dreams? How far are we willing to go to touch the sky? For Amelia, the answer was clear. She once said, "Adventure is worthwhile in itself." And perhaps that's the only answer we'll ever need. Because even if her plane was lost to the waves, her spirit was not. Her story continues to fly, through history, through mystery, and through the endless horizon of human curiosity. Amelia Earhart may have vanished, but the sky she conquered still whispers her name. If you found this story fascinating, like, share, and subscribe to Timeless Questions channel, where we explore the civilizations, ideas, and mysteries that shaped humanity.